So I'm Mihao, CEO of Manify, but this panel is not about me. I'll drop her just a few things here and there. This panel is about some friends of mine who I didn't even know were going to be on this panel, but it turns out I've known quite a few of you quite a bit, and a few of you I don't know at all. So, but yeah, we're going to talk about the convergence of AI and decentralization, which is a topic I'm really interested in. And I'd just like to start off with every panelist kind of going for myself. We'll start off with you, Rakshak, to just do a little intro, and we'll go from there.
Hi guys, my name's Rakshak, and I'm helping with AI agent initiatives.
Closer to the microphone.
Sure.
Like me, yes.
Okay.
There we go.
Hope it's not too much though.
No, you're good.
My name is Rakshak, and I'm with Morpheus. I'm helping on the AI agent initiatives, and I come with a background of 11 years in AI. Most of that was computer vision, and happy to be working in Web3
now. Michael Gord, serial entrepreneur, investor, been focused on the mainstream adoption of digital assets since it started pretty much. Been focused on decentralized AI since Morpheus came, among other things, but big thesis on decentralized AI, I think, since Morpheus came out, and co-founded a decentralized AI business, Alpaca Network, ecosystem of companies, and we're doing a AI agent startup competition called Next Top AI Agent. We've got $500,000 of prizes to give out to AI agent builders. And happy to chat.
So I'm Timothy Lewis, most recently co-founder of T. T is the open source network for incentives, permissionless layer 2 blockchain OpStack based custom precompile. I've been in the industry for a little over 10 years and decentralist and technologist.
Thank you for having me here. I'm Lenny, founder of Infinity Brand. We're building an agentic IDE, which is like the agent-driven intelligent development environment. So our mission is to enable everyone to create decentralized apps by natural language in the future. And we believe with the collaboration with AI, everyone could be super individual in the future. Yeah, thank you.
Hey guys, David Johnston here. If we haven't met, I guess most people probably know me for creating the framework for decentralized applications back in 2013. Sort of helped build different layers of the tech stack ever since. Mostly focused on Morpheus these days, basically empowering smart agent builders with compute, capital, and code. About $2 billion have gone through the smart contract so far. Most people bootstrapping these open source agents by providing yield from their staked ETH. So really cool, big fan of fair launches, very passionate about decentralized AI. So looking forward to the conversation. Let's do it, Meow.
Okay, so first question is, one thing that I'm super interested in is what real world problems are ecosystems like Morpheus currently solving? Because there's a lot of activity through your ecosystem and I've been sort of following it. And I'm really curious, the first question on here is, what's decentralization and AI solving together?
So who's tried out Venice AI in the room? Maybe about half the people. So this is basically a private version of ChatGPT where you can use open source large language models for text, coding, images, but all the data is private on your device. And nobody's mining it, right? There's no ad revenue coming off. It's all an extension of your mind, right? So it's your personal AI. So they've hit 500,000 users, 100,000 daily actives in just a few months. So clearly people like this idea of free AI that's open source and personal to you. That's sort of like the first killer app. So there's 75 builders now on Morpheus. The protocol's paid out $1 million in rewards just in the first 30 days to builders. But yeah, that's definitely the breakout.
Wow, that's super awesome. So I want to direct this next question to Rakshak because I know you're involved on the tech side. But we don't know what the people are doing with Venice AI because it's private, like David just said. So what are they doing? Do you know?
I don't know if they want to tell us.
But I'm just super curious what people are actually using it for.
Yeah, so people like private AI. The reason why is because we're coming on the back end of over a decade of tech companies saying one thing with their mouth and doing another thing with their hands. And people feel like they finally value the interactions they have with their devices and technology, where in the past that was something that was an afterthought. And so the value proposition there is you can use something that is built off of open technology that can be audited to ensure that it's not biased against you. And I want to talk about bias more later if we can. That's not biased against you. in a way that fully represents your views. So you're not being intercepted by another person's ideology to benefit them with a really bad invisible hand. You're actually able to go through with what you want. So I think that's the intellectual value prop. But I think in reality, I'm sure a lot of people are posting stuff on there that they wouldn't want to share.
Like AI girlfriends.
Sure. So Rextrack was talking about the individual use cases for private AI. I'll just touch on the enterprise and institutional use cases for a second. I think it's relevant and interesting to chat about and to hear. So if you're a big company like Samsung or Nike or Google and you have trade secrets you're wanting to get AI input on, and you're putting the trade secrets and asking for sensitive information from ChatGPT, then OpenAI or Google or whatever the owner of the centralized AI is aggregating that data, which might not be desirable for an institution. So all these big companies and small companies, but big companies are going to need to have private brains that they can program with their business sensitive information and as much of their competitors' information as possible, so that they have LLMs that are trained on their market needs without their competitors being able to access that content. So also institutional and enterprise use cases.
Let's go with Tim next.
I was just going to say, I think this, part of this is the benefit of open source AI, right? And when you're talking about bias, like most recently, everyone's heard that Grok is super biased towards Trump and Elon, right? But the other biases that they might build in, unless you have an open source LLM, you're not going to know. But at least you can inspect in the open source version. There's many benefits for running it in a private way. But imagine the mind police, right? You're starting to do things on these public networks. Who's going to report who on saying what? There are some things that you're going to want to have for your own information, building out your second brains in the way that you are interested in doing so.
Lonnie, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, actually, just quickly add something because we're more focusing on the AI utility and the optimization part. So basically, for decentralized AI, I think but it's still very important in the utility side. Even though we're focusing on enable everyone to generate their own applications by natural language, but I think keep the data private, which is also very important in any situations. Because when you develop some apps like social apps where you want to develop something related to a DeFi or something like that, you definitely want to keep some sensitive information private in your phone or in a local environment. And also because when we have a broad creator community, and we talked with a lot of creators, and I feel they're always facing a dilemma. It's they want their services or their application to facing more people, but at the same time they're also thinking how to provide their users privacy, and how to make their the data as governance by themselves or their communities. Yeah, so I think decentralized AI is really important in those situations. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's have.
Well, I'll just wrap it up by saying, let's be frank, the centralized AIs are crippled, right? It's 2025 and Google doesn't have a Web3 wallet. They can't. As a centralized company, they're regulated. They don't want to do KYC and AML and all this stuff, right? So a Web3 enabled AI can literally take economic action on behalf of the user, not just give them information. I don't want a list of 10 things to do. I want my agent to go and do it. But it has to have a wallet, it has to have money, and that's what crypto is for.
Yeah, I was just going to say, my theory is that within the next 3 to 5 years, 90+% of all transactions that happen on a blockchain will come through agentic systems.
100%,
Yeah.
99%, exactly.
Yeah. So next question, I think you guys knew this was coming. So what are the risks of doing decentralized AI?
I think the risk is centralized AI is very dystopian. I don't think, honestly, I think the risk is if you had a couple of players that controlled it, they're aligning to themselves, not to you, right? I want a model that represents my values, not some big company, not some big government. So honestly, having open source and decentralized AI is just returning it to the individual. If I asked you, what are the risks of people having word processors and being able to write anything they want. They could write mean things on the internet. Like, that's ridiculous, right? We're used to this idea that we've decentralized power to the individual. And yes, some people are going to be jerks, but we already have systems for addressing that.
Okay.
Yay, freedom.
Yay.
Anybody else want to comment on that question?
So the issue that I'm seeing is we don't really have a strong player on the hardware side, on the chip side. There is a new player that came out. It's called Cerebras, Cerebras. I believe they're going to IPO soon.
You can say an IPO soon.
They're going to IPO soon. This mic doesn't want you to hear me alpha. So they're the first contender to NVIDIA on both training and inference. They're amazingly fast. They're 10 to 50 times faster than anyone else. But they're still, proprietary, and they're also not going to open source their silicon. So I think we need a concerted effort by different players to say, hey, we need to control the full stack, because without having control of the hardware, you don't really have much. And all the NVIDIA drivers are black boxes. So there is a path where information can be extracted, and we wouldn't know it from our side of the integration.
Another risk that we can put on the table and chat about: centralized chat networks, centralized LLMs are oftentimes, well, actually entirely at scale, created by businesses like Twitter or OpenAI or Facebook or Google that have, firstly, almost limitless resources compared to decentralized AI startups, but also have unfair advantages for collecting data because of the stream of new content posted on Google and or Facebook, or X, or X, or whatever enormous data pools these centralized organizations have access to. So for decentralized LLM networks to be competitive, they need to aggregate wisdom of the crowd and incentivize mass participation from users to onboard, to have competitive LLMs, basically.
There's a very interesting comparison between the fat protocol thesis versus the fat LLM thesis, right? So it is just this just race to couple people in and get people on, or whether or not you believe that the agents will reach the people, or will the LLMs, or these vertical agent systems end up capturing more of the attention, and where you're going through the curation of different styles or stacks to bring them up, and we'll see.
I just want to see, I think for the next 3 to 5 years, personalization and the customization will become more and more important in the world, especially with the decentralized AI. Because for now in Web2, we always facing a situation is if you for example, you're choosing either to take all the services or the requirements by the centralized app or not. But to be honest, let's think about a scenario. For example, if you want to training your own a safety guard agent that could help you detect some fraud or give you some alarm about the hacking or something stuff. But because different people have different tolerance level for the risk, and different people has different safety situation. So I think in Web2 we are always being pushed to accept all the services provided by Google or something like that. But I believe in the future everyone could customize their own services or customize the application functions they want, because I want to create my own safety agent that just to guard my safety issues. And you could create yours, and you could even create your own social apps that you could define the rules, and with AI help you generate coding or something like that. So I believe in the future we're not just a taker to accept other services or functions we are given, but we could be creator that we could create something we want and we need. And I think it's important in happening in Web3 is because in Web2, all the apps they're independent with each other. And if you want to get permission to transfer some transactions from this app to that app, you need to get permission always need to get permission from X, from Google, from big giants. But I think in Web3, like the applications are built on top of the open interpretable protocols. So I guess it's much easier for people to build things that could cross applications and cross functions. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I have a follow-up question for the Morpheus guys specifically to on that one. So how would you train, right? So if the silicon can't be trusted, but the software that we're building at Morpheus is open source and theoretically, right, it can be trusted. How do I train my own agent?
Well, the truth is most people don't need to fine tune a model. They're just inferencing an existing frontier model. But the agent is usually just using a system prompt or has some specific application. Think about it like the LLM is your operating system and the agent is your app layer, right? You remember the iPhone came out, there was going to be an app for everything. Well, this is the year there's going to be an agent for everything, right? And so whether you spin them up and customize like she's talking about, or they're third-party agents built by a professional developer, and it's the best, most insured, most audited thing for swapping, right? So that's going to emerge, like these highly fine-tuned agents. I was just at the Coinbase Agent Hackathon, and they've built an incredible toolkit for developers called Agent Kit. And there's another great protocol called Lit Protocol, where you can approve the agent for a certain amount of money, a certain amount of time, a certain application. You don't have to hand the agent your private key, right? That would be a bad idea. So we're getting all these primitives now where we can control how it spends the money and protect the user. And I think she made the right point, which is I need a super agent that represents me to all the other agents, right? You're about to have 1 million agents with 150 IQ coming at you every day, trying to influence you, trying to change your behavior, giving you advertisements, maybe trying to trick you if it's malicious, right? That's the real threat. We got past the whole, like the states trying to control AI. Now the threat is extractive AI. And so you're gonna need a personal agent that's representing you like a fiduciary on your behalf.
And so essentially the answer is sort of the Morpheus App Store for agents of this is the best one to protect you.
Effectively creating a ranking algorithm where you can see on chain how people are actually using it and which one is most trustworthy. On-chain data is the best way to accomplish that, right? It's not just, oh, I read the metadata and it says it's the best, as you actually see people using it at scale is the best proof.
I think an exciting trend with AI agents that I haven't seen actually executed properly, but I think is very much where the market's going, is totally agree, AI agents for everything, specific use cases and AI agents that can learn. But one thing I'm excited about with AI agents is if you need to have one AI agent hiring another AI agent to coordinate more complicated tasks, the coordination layer between AI agents to be cooperative is really interesting.
That's what Rakshak's doing.
Yeah, so when if you wanted to hire someone to renovate your home, you wouldn't care about the downstream costs. Like you wouldn't worry about the cost of the paint or the cost of the materials. You just know there's a high level cost that you're going to pay the general contractor. And so in the same way, your personal agent, which we lovingly call a super agent, is...
That's not creepy at all.
No, it's not. There were other ideas too, but no. So the super agent is just focused on representing what's good for you, and it's going to basically act like a general contractor. It's going to go out and do all the interviews the way you might have someone interview people on Upwork or Fiverr, and it's going to figure out, hey, this agent's really good for this thing. So I'll give you a real example. I really love Google Alerts, right? So every day I get an email that tells me about all the things I care about and all the new headlines. Except I can't really customize it, can't really do too much with it. What I would love is an agent, my super agent talks to a research agent, and it goes out and it's always looking at the things I care about and anything adjacent. And then it hands that off to an analyst agent, which looks for interesting trends. And then it goes off to a summarizing agent that gives me a report every day. And I would really love that. And so my super agent can go out every week and say, hey, who's the best search agent today? Not just the one I used last week, but who's the best one today? Because the space is moving so fast, you want to be able to pick up on the latest improvements. Who's the best analyst agent? Who's the best reporting agent? And it's going to go out and look at those. And it's also going to look for other agents that were built by other parties to evaluate or to audit the work of these to make sure that it's compliant with me. And then that allows us to have satisfaction on it being a fiduciary. And that lets you take, the wisdom of the crowd, all the other different agents that are being built and put out there. And when it's looking for the right one, it's based off of similarity to what I'm looking for, but also, like David mentioned, on-chain metrics. How many other people have used this agent recently? Do they have a successful experience? And since that can be all measured on-chain, it's very transparent. And I know if the biases of the super agent are lined up with its fiduciary responsibilities for me as a user.
Yes. So my concern in that environment would be if measuring bias on chain is kind of like the main metric that could potentially be gamed somehow. Are there other ways to sort of ensure safety? Like the totally non-creepy super agent is interviewing other agents. How do we know that the super agent's not getting fooled by like a bad contractor?
So part of that comes down to the model that super agent is using. So I want to give a very recent example. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of DeepSeek, which came out, and there was like, hey, this is so it's great for us because it's open source, but it's also a little contentious because of the pervading government over that model. And there's a really great company in SF called Perplexity, and they have a search engine agent, and they said, hey, so what if we got this CCP infused model and took the CCP out and put the America in? And they call theirs DeepSeek R1 1776, right? Not so subtle, but it's cool because we can still work together even if we feel like someone else is an adversary when we operate on an open field. It's when things get closed and we can't audit that model that we have real issues. So to answer your question, I can assess that this is aligned with me because the foundational model it's using and the memories it's created, it has of me, can be audited and can be referenced in the future.
That's an excellent answer. So we got about 5 minutes left in the panel. I just want to open it up to what else anybody wants to add to the fascinating stuff we've been talking about. Super appreciate you guys.
I just have a question for David. Like, what are you most excited about during this last week? Everything happens exponentially. What's the one thing in the AI vertical, the agent space that has blown your mind this week?
I would just say the point at which we are, like last year, it was white papers and proposals and ideas, and now all that stuff is live, right? So the multi-agent frameworks, the builders, the incentives are live, right? I basically spent the last year like, okay, putting all the pieces of Morpheus online, the capital rewards, the code, the compute, and finally the builders. Now we effectively have this infinite ecosystem, this infinite marketplace where anybody can launch and immediately get rewarded for it. This is how we avoid the 2017 ICO stuff, is these tools are all non-custodial, and so somebody can't get rugged. That's when I read the white paper about Morpheus, that's what inspired me, was the idea that I could put in my ETH, I can donate the yield, and I couldn't get rugged because I always had control of my principal, right? And extending that as a generalized model for anybody that wants to do a fair launch is really exciting to me, because that's how we build fast without the attack vectors that we had in 2017. So like that's real, that's live, people are doing it. So the speed of this is just gonna be insane. 2025 is this takeoff year. It feels like we're passing through the edge of the singularity, right? And if you have a super agent, you have a 10x, 100x multiplier on your intelligence. And like the person that doesn't have a personal agent is literally economically irrelevant, like right now, not in the future. So it's gonna be a wild year. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and I think we're on a really good positive trajectory, because if you have a personal agent, the benefits are flowing back to you, not to some company, not to some government. This is how we bring productivity gains back to the individual. Like we've been 50 years since we went off the gold standard. There's effectively been no increase in quality of life for the average person. Like that sucks, right? We're solving that with honest money and these honest AI systems. So that's what gets me really excited.
You have a question? All right, let's go.
I had a couple of questions. One was, if the internet's filled with junk and the models are web crawling, like you said, someone mentioned the Grok bias against Elon and Trump. Well, if there's people publishing all across the internet articles like that, and then the models are using the web, how are you even supposed to fine tune that stuff out in the first place? And then my other question was, you mentioned DeepSeek being hosted
on US servers with Perplexity. And then when I had met Lonnie earlier, I know her virtual agent is using DeepSeek. And I was just wondering if Lonnie could explain how maybe she's working on like an open source version or one that's pinging DeepSeek in a different way, or if maybe she could ping DeepSeek on Morpheus instead. And I was just curious about that.
Basically, how we utilize DeepSeek is just because we're not just using DeepSeek, because actually we integrate like different AI models from the open source toward the like closed source. Because what we want to build is like we want to make it very easy for everyone to use it, so they do not need to like manage their like AI accounts for almost like 10 models, where they do not need to like deploy their own. One is deployed by ourselves, and the other is like just integrating the APIs from the model provider. And what we're doing is like we build an agent layer on top of it. It's like the professional agent, to be honest. Like they're like responsible for receiving the queries from the end users, and then the agent would determine like which model is most suitable for this query, and like how to rotate different queries could make the cost lower, and could make the response speed quicker. So for DeepSeek, like firstly we utilize its API, but to be honest, like DeepSeek API is not stable and it's always down. So we're now like deploying our own
Must be painful.
Yes, it is painful.
Open source for the win.
Okay, one last question and we'll wrap up. I think you got 10 seconds.
Great, thank you. Tim Lewis, I understand you're doing the open source incentivization, and what is T specifically doing to focus to attract open source for AI?
Yeah, so ours it's incentivization across the stack. We're able to incentivize Git issues, Git pull requests. We distribute value back through our sequencer fees on our L2 to anyone who registers their repository that passes a certain T rank. So we have this database, will be Oracleized, Chai, that can validate global dependency graph amongst all different open source ecosystems. So we can better really qualify the value of open source. And then we distribute funding back to them. So a lot of people will be using the network in many different ways. We actually utilize the GPG PKI. So our custom precompile has to do with us being able to utilize GPG addresses, which have been used in Git, whether it's Git, GitLab, or GitHub for the last 20 years. So we can distribute assets directly to developers based on their public keys that they've used to sign code, and in the future when they are signing code. So people get incentivized repos, people get incentivized issues, getting to people out that way, or the developers themselves or package maintainers can register their package with our protocol, distribute and receive rewards, and manage that process.
Can I have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we got like 1 minute. So.
Okay, sure. Actually, I'm really curious, like for all the panelists, like I'm always thinking of a question is like, what if someday the AI model is lying to us? Because like the way we train and test the model is depend on the model's output. We give some input and then we test like what's the output from the model. But I'm thinking like when the model becomes more and more intelligent, they are more and more smart. Like, what if someday like they are lying to us? The output that they give us is a lying. So like, how can we address such a problem?
They already are in many
Yeah,
ways, right? They have
Yeah.
bias, so they, in some ways they are doing that. It's AI safety.
Yep.
What will happen?
So I wrote an article in 2016 about how effectively blockchain will save us from strong AI. And I basically made the same argument that I would make today, which is it's all economics, right? If we source all the electricity and the power and the compute that the AI needs, right, we're going to incentivize good AI that adds value, right? Any AI out there trying to steal or remove value, by definition, is always going to be a tiny subset, right? It's like theft. Global credit card theft is like 70 billion, but that's nothing compared to the $100 trillion of real economic activity. So the danger that we did have is they were trying to ban the open source in 23, right, with the executive order. That would have dampened down the good AI, and it would have only been bad actors that had access to resources, the best model. So we narrowly avoided that dystopian future, and so now the open source models are becoming by far the best, right? So we have an opportunity for better, good actor AI to out-resource bad AI. So I think that's the best answer we can have, is just economically align good actors.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you.
David.